Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of TechteamGB. Today we're going to be doing a full review of the Fractal Design Core 1500. Stay tuned to find out more. So probably the best way to start off this review is with the front I/O ports. You have two USB 3.0 ports, a headphone and microphone jack, a hard drive activity light, and your power and reset button, which both have quite a nice tactile feel when you click them. The front panel is made completely of plastic, although it has this really nice brushed aluminium finish, which definitely gives the case a nice premium look, without having the downside of actually having a brushed aluminium front panel, meaning that fingerprints and oils and things like that stain it really easily, which is definitely awesome. There are also two side vents giving access to the 120mm fan, so it won't get suffocated. You can also see there are two 5¼ inch drive bays, which I would personally leave alone because if you stick a sort of CD, DVD reader writer in there, it will definitely spoil the look of this very premium front panel. Now the front panel is quite easily removable, it just requires a nice firm grip and pull to get it to come off. You can see that the fan vents have some nice dust proofing foam over them, which should stop any dust from entering into your system. There is one 120mm fan pre-installed, although you can add another if you wish. You can also see you have some holes which allow you to add or remove hard drive bays as and when you want. Now one thing I really did appreciate about this case is that the I/O was built into the chassis rather than being connected to the front panel, which makes building into this case and removing the front panel a lot easier because you won't be tugging on any of your I/O, which is really cool. Now on the top of the case you can see you have two 120 or 140mm fan mounts. They are offset, so if you wanted to install something like a H100 you can do so, which is pretty cool. Now moving on to the bottom of the case, you can see you have your really large dust filter that covers the bottom 120mm fan mount as well as your power supply. One thing I really didn't like was the fan mesh was really difficult to install. It's not like a slidey out one which you can remove without having to flip your case over. This one you have to pretty much rip your computer out to sort of clean or do whatever with, and it's also a bit of a pain to install back in because you have to fit it under all these little clips. So though I understand why they did this to save money, it's kind of a bit annoying and yeah, just annoying and a bit of a pain to install. You can also see that there are some feet on the bottom. This is another thing that I really disliked. I'm quite an advocate of good feet, I guess you could say, but these things are just solid plastic. They slide around on the desk, really don't sort of secure the case in any way unless it was on carpet, which I didn't like. Then moving on to the back of the case, you can see you have your standard mATX power supply mount. You can also see you have 4 PCI expansion slots, meaning you can install up to 2 video cards. They have this quite nice white bracket, which gives it a quite cool look. You also have your I/O shield as well as your 120mm fan mount, which comes with exactly the same fan that's in the front. Also there's this fan switch which has either low, medium or high settings, and you can plug it to 3 fans into it. So depending on if you prefer a high performance sort of case or a quiet one, you can put the switch accordingly. Alright guys, so next up you can see there's space to mount one 120mm fan over the side panel, although we couldn't mount one there simply because there wasn't enough clearance between our tall heatsink tower and the side panel. But if you had something like a stock heatsink, you could definitely quite easily throw one in and give yourself some extra airflow over your CPU. Now moving on to the inside of the case, you can see you have 2 hard drive cages which allow for up to 4 either 3.5 or 2.5 inch drives, which is pretty cool. They are screwed in, so if you wanted to remove them, allowing for an even longer power supply or graphics card, you could do so, which is quite cool, although I tend to just leave them there because if you remove them you really couldn't install anything in the way of storage. Now the hard drive caddies are pretty strong, they're metal, they're not toolless, so if you prefer toolless drives, that's a thing, although they are really sturdy and they sit in with that white-black contrast theme that Fractal have always pretty much gone for. Now cable management in this case is really easy. There are a ton of cable management holes dotted all the way around the motherboard tray, making cable management just a dream. It's really very easy. I probably spent about 25 minutes building in this case, and it doesn't look great obviously because the power supply isn't amazing, but it looks fairly respectable, and for the amount of time that I spent I'm pretty impressed with how easy it was to cable manage. Now another thing is that all of the I/O cables are completely black. The front panel cables are black, the HD audio cable is black. You don't have a HD plus ALC 97 tuner on the side of it, which is great. Black cables is something that you don't even see in cases that cost 4 times as much as this, so the fact that they've included them is just freaking awesome, and I think every case should follow on with this, so definitely a thumbs up to Fractal there. Now around the back of the computer case you can see that you have this massive CPU cutter hole, pretty much allowing for any motherboard you want. You also have a SATA power for your fan controller rather than a mATX, which is pretty cool. There are these cable tie downs, which I wish there were a few more of, although they are placed pretty well, so it's not a big deal. Although you may want to get some sticky pad ones, so you can add a few more, you know, if you're a bit of a cable management hog. Now, they did include a 2.5 inch mounting bracket, but it's positioned behind the power supply, so if you wanted to mount a SSD in there or whatever, you'd have to remove the power supply to be able to install something. Now the cable management space is pretty good. You can see I fit my LG G3 behind there, which just goes to show you. There is this indent running along the side of the motherboard tray, which allows for bulky things like the 24 pin, which is pretty cool. As you can see, there's a massive gap where the hard drive goes, so if you have any spare cables, you can just stuff them behind there. Alright guys, so now I'm just going to wrap up the review of the Fractal Design Core 1500. So I think first things first, we've got to talk about the price. This thing comes in at £39.50, or at least that's the cheapest I found it on Amazon.co.uk. So links, as always, will be in the description down below if you want to go and check those out. But this really is an incredible mATX case. If you want a case that looks elegant, doesn't have any flashy sort of pew-pew lasers, definitely go check this out. You know, it's really nice to build in, really simple, and it looks just elegant and awesome. So for that price, you really, I don't think you could beat it. So a massive thumbs up to Fractal there. But yeah, obviously I had a few gripes with the feet. You know, if you were using this on, say, a hardwood floor, it might slip around quite easily. So obviously if you're using it on carpet, that's not a massive problem. And the dust filters haven't got the best implementation possible, but they're about on par with its competitors in terms of the ease of use of the dust filters. But, you know, they are a bit of a pain if you want to remove and clean them. But, you know, it's not terrible. It's just a bit of a pain to use them. So overall, I'm going to give this product a 4 out of 5 because it looks absolutely incredible and it comes in at an awesome price. To go with that 4 out of 5 star rating, I'm also going to give it the Budget Busters award because, like I said, it comes in at an incredible price. Alright guys, this has been Tom here from TechteamGB. If you like the video, then hit the like button. If you dislike it, hit the dislike button. Make sure you leave us a comment down below for what we can improve on next time, or if you want to know anything there is else to know about this product. As for always, links to buy this will be in the description down below, so go and check those out. They use our Amazon affiliate link, so we get a small kickback every time you use them. Press the share button so you can share this video with your friends. It really helps us spread our content around, and make sure you subscribe so you can get the latest updates whenever we release a video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next time.